Hopefully that's furry animals talking to me. So there are some toys that your kids will play with forever and enjoy. They'll play with each other, and that it'll span across ages. And then there are some that you will regret buying them, or regret if somebody else buys them. Let's figure out which ones. Save your money on these. Okay, so these tubes of activities that you get, so it's like a little thing here. So it seems like it would be a good idea because the price is not as high and you get a bunch of little stuff. But the issue with these things is they don't do anything on their own, and then very quickly these types of things end up all over the house in tons of different rooms, and it just feels like a nightmare. And then when you go to collect them, like, where do you put this? Is this part of the decoration? I just think these types of things that feel like they're going to be satisfying in a sensory way, they just get shoved everywhere. You're gonna find them under your couch, you're gonna find them under your car seat, and it's just not really something that they're gonna play with over time.
His belly. Belly.
Okay, next is kinetic sand. Now this feels like, okay, because it has a sensory element, which, you know, we know our kids need and is good for our kids or whatever. But I'm gonna tell you that, yeah, and it is slightly better than regular sand. But these, unless you're going to put them in an area that is totally supervised, you're just gonna find it all over, everywhere. I felt my kids would take it in their rooms and play with it, and then their rooms would be covered in sand. So this, I just do not really recommend unless it's going to go somewhere super specific. Oh, this is my coffee. Unless it's going to go somewhere super specific and you're going to watch it, but then that's a toy that you're going to have to micromanage. Otherwise, you are going to heavily feel like you're going to be you're literally gonna be sweeping it up or vacuuming this toy up that you spent good money on. So another toy that I highly recommend, again, or I'm going to tell you, let's just put it like this. I regretted this purchase forever, and that is Orbeez. These little, they're like dry, you know, they're kind of old now. I mean, they've been out a while and you fill them with water. Again, this is like buying a job for yourself, okay? Because yes, it is a sensory bin. Yes, we know our kids need sensory input, but they can get sensory input in the yard, in the dirt for free. They can get sensory input in the bathtub for free, or, you know, the water bill that you're paying anyway. These types of things, like this box has a bunch of little different parts, right? It's like creating a lot of little things you got to keep up with. And if they ever get separated, what do they go in? These are just the types of gifts that it's like you can't allow your kid to just take to their room and play with, or it's going to just be a total nightmare. You don't want a toy you have to micromanage. Okay, my next one is slime. I'm going to tell you, I told a couple of my friends, oh, I'm going to go do a video on toys you regret buying. And they're like, slime, 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 slime. So it seems like it's going to be fun. Of course, it is fun the initial time you take it out, and it does feel good. But then it ends up with dirt and crumbs. It ends up all over the floor. I can't tell you how many slimes I have on different kids' rugs because kids want to take these things and go play with them. This is another toy that you end up having to micromanage and keep and watch, and then each one's got to go back in its thing, and it's got to be closed, and then where do you put it? It's like these types of toys almost create a super low-key feeling of stress in mom. It's like this is the opposite way. And like, while slime is kind of like fun and it feels good in a sensory way, there's a lot of like basically totally free ways your kids can get sensory input without you having to spend money on something that's going to make a huge mess. And then my husband had a good point, because my kids, probably all kids, I don't know, like they love to mix them, and then this is pretty, and then this pretty, and then they're all mixed together, and it's like this ugly brown. And so it's just kind of like, I feel like this is one of those good ideas in the moments. And also this has tons of different packaging, and it's just like, it's like a toy that's a job. I'm against toys that are jobs. Okay, these are like all over the toy section, and it's like little surprises. So it's like something that cost you like $5, $6, $7, and then it just has like candy or crap, or like you don't even know what's in it. So, hold on. So, there we go. Like you don't even know what's in it. This is not a good use of your money. This is probably something the kids would just toss aside, open, and immediately throw away. I found quite a few of these examples of surprises, and I just think that, you know, for sure don't waste your money on these. And if you have multiple kids and you start throwing these in, you might end up spending 30 or 40 bucks on something that you don't even know what it is. I think we really need to steer clear of these dolls that are hyper sexualized. I don't know if I could say this in Target here, that are just very groany for young girls, because I think we all like to kind of complain about how society is objectifying women, and then yet we're putting all these dolls for kids and we're selling them. So I think we just got to put our money where our mouth is, or not put money where, not buy these types of dolls that actually, yeah, I think you're getting what I'm giving here. So these types of toys, like, okay, so looks like a bubble, plays like a ball, the same thing. I feel like, and so see, that's an older kid, and they're quite a bit older, but I feel like these types of toys are the kind that look like it might be fun to play with for a minute, that then end up broken really quickly. Like, I just don't think these are the types of things that stand the test of time. And if you look, like, yeah, this is a lot of money for that. And I'm on the Lego aisle, actually, and I'm on Lego. I really definitely recommend Lego. I said that in my video about non-tech toys, but Lego is so good because you get to build it once using the map that it shows, and then you can take it apart and build just forever. And there's just all different kinds of Lego based on your kids' interest. I mean, we have a lot of Lego, and Lego is something that gets played with forever. Now, I will say I have been shocked recently by Lego prices, but then again, I'm shocked by all prices. And so if I'm going to spend $30 on crap, I'd rather spend $45 on something that they're going to play with forever. Puzzles are really good, obviously, for older kids, because otherwise you're doing the whole same thing and you're micromanaging. But toys that double as experiences are really the way to go now with everything. Kids just have everything. They have so much, and they're so unimpressed by stuff. I don't know if you've noticed it about your kids, and not even from an ungrateful way. It's just like culture is so consumerist. Kids are just like, oh, that big, huge, expensive thing. Oh, like, they're just not as impressed. So something that you could give them and do together is just a good way to go for family togetherness. These are all these Nerf guns. I mean, we have 4 boys, so that's, oh, furry animals talking to me. We have 4 boys, but I love Nerf guns and things because they can play with them together. Yes, I do find bullets. Actually, I do have bullets all over my yard. I actually have bullets all over the house, but the bullets are cheap and the kids love it. And it's actually a game that they can do together over and over again, and they can use for lots of different types of games as well. So rollerblades, roller skates, skateboards, these types of things, these are excellent gifts. And if you look and see, they're not that much more than some big tin of a bunch of plastic stuff, but it actually gets them outside, so it's a bit of exercise. It's something that they can use all year. It's sort of an adventure. Anything that gets like the wind blowing in your face, I know that sounds silly, but that kind of gives you that adrenaline dump, feeling alive. Like, these are just they're sort of like a toy, but it's almost like an activity instead of a toy, and those, just the joy in them lasts so much longer. You can see right back over there, there's a bunch of board games. Board games are honestly some of the best gifts that you can give the kids, because especially if you have more than one kid, our kids will play board games together every day during the summer. They'll come home from school and they'll play them. I'm so tired, y'all. They'll come home from school and play them. Board games are a great game to give the whole family, and they're like a bonding activity too. So it isn't just a game that'll put them off in their room like a device or something like that. A board game is something that you can literally use for years. So it's kind of almost like an investment in family time. So I feel like a board game is a much better use of $20, $30, $40 than something kind of plastic or something that's gonna make a huge mess in the house. We have always given the kids books. I think books are a great gift. You know, maybe not be the only gift, but certainly whether it's one, it's their favorite one, a keepsake. Because our kids, like, even once they can read and get into reading chapter books, they'll still pull these out and read them. Or book series. My daughter has some book series she literally has read like 3 times. So a book is a gift that keeps on giving. Okay, y'all, I'm back in the car. So basically, maybe when I get home I'll show you some of the things that I did get the kids. But if it's like plastic and cheap, if it's in tons of little parts, if it's really messy and it's actually gonna cause a mess, you know, like the sand and the slime, if it's gonna require you to do a lot of micromanaging and your kids aren't old enough, it's just not really worth it. It's not gonna have as much bang for your buck. It doesn't have longevity with the kid. Now, as they get older, there might be some things that are in a lot of little parts. I'm thinking like the little rainbow bracelets or jewelry kits. And now if you have a child who's, you know, my daughter who's 11 now, she can play with and use those things and clean them up after herself, and it's not that big of a deal. But if your kids are smaller or even around her age, if it's just the type of toy that comes in lots of little like random pieces, or if it can only be used in one way. So it's like if you were gonna get like the big plastic Barbie houses, it can't really be used for anything but Barbie, or the big Paw Patrol stands. They're not really can be used with anything but Paw Patrol, so it kind of boxes kids in and they just don't play with them as much. So if you want toys that you can put in their independent play, you want things that they can do for long periods of time, or things that just are togetherness for the family, then I would definitely recommend sticking to the other things that I mentioned. So I realized I'd wrap the kids' presents, but I make the kids do a Christmas list. So if you haven't already got your presents, then you can do it. I actually think I'm gonna keep some of these. They're so precious. Just for example, something that I got, my daughter wanted some gel pens, so she wanted some crafty stuff. So I got her some things that she could use all year to craft and to paint. She wanted books, and she wanted, which I think this is a really good idea if you have kind of a creative one, she wanted like a face painting kit that she could use to paint her brother's faces all year. So this is still kind of an interactive, it's not a toy, but it's like an interactive gift that they can use for fun, like for a long time. All my boys like Pokemon, which I don't get the appeal of, but my husband liked Pokemon. But they actually gather their Pokemon cards together and they'll trade. You know, my husband will like write down their trades, you know, like that. That keeps a record, like it's the Wall Street over here from our couch. You know, and they'll play the game, so it's almost like a board game together. I do a Lego for each of them because they keep the Lego forever. One of my sons wanted a remote control snake, which I thought was kind of interesting. Modeling clay, that was what another one was my son Judah wanted. And I also got one of my other sons like a soccer net they could all use together, like the soccer goals. And he wanted a scooter, so that's like another example of some kind of like an active toy that you can get them. So make sure and check out my next video on non-tech toys that I think your kids will love.